Hey church fam, it is Monday morning, meaning it's time for Motivational Monday. My name is Christopher Donnell. I'm pastor here at Urbana UMC, and hopefully you had an awesome Father's Day weekend, weekend of rest, on celebration, and you're ready to get this week off and running with hopefully a little bit of motivation from me to encourage you this week. But the encouragement I have for you, for me, for us today is the idea of just being engaged in church life. I know that sounds kind of dry and boring and maybe not even motivating, but in a world where you could be anything and do anything, and there's a million different options. I mean, just go to the ice cream aisle at Walmart or Kroger and try to pick out your favorite ice cream. I mean, there's so much variety, and that's the same with churches too. And I think we can become fixated on what's my church doing for me, or how is this church serving me and building me up. And we can tend to, be disappointed or complacent in our church life. And I was recently listening to a podcast about the disconnect between Gen Z and the church of today. And one thing these guys were talking about was just a general desire for community and connection. And at the end of the day, what all these guys settled on was like, I don't need fog machines. I don't need a laser light show. I don't need a preacher who can just give me every biblical point in the Bible in 30 seconds or less. Like, I don't need an amazing worship team. All those things matter, and they need to be good, and they need to be truthful, and they need to come from the heart. But at the end of the day, they talked about like the church potluck, that they desire connection over the table. So where they ended was like, find you a church that still does church potlucks. And I thought that was so fascinating, because there is something magical about a church potluck. If you don't know what that is, it's where a bunch of people from the church all bring their favorite dish to a meal, typically after church in the fellowship hall or some kind of like cafeteria area. At our church, we have what's called the core on the top floor. You get tables and chairs out, and you set all these different foods up, and everybody shares a meal together. And they share conversation, they share updates about their life. Kids run around and they're crazy, and this really awesome thing happens. You connect, and in a day and age where I think we can be very disconnected from pure comfort, from pure laziness, from pure isolation, we can feel very disconnected from each other. But the easiest way to connect is always having a meal with somebody. I am a firm believer in that ministry, God moves in such amazing ways when you're gathered around a table, or you're in a circle around a campfire, or you're at a table, opening scripture at a Bible study. When you're circled around each other is where real connection happens. And so you may have a church that is mediocre at best at their musical worship. You may have a preacher, probably like me, who's just kind of okay at sharing the good news, but he still or she always gives truth, right? But both those things, if they're in good spirit and good heart, and they're coming from the place that genuine love of Jesus, the connection to the deeper community, the church, is what really matters. And so my encouragement, my motivation for all of us today is find a church you can connect to. Find a place where you can gather around a table and have a church potluck and get to know another person. And for you introverts out there, I know that sounds terrifying, but you don't always have to talk to everybody. You can still be part of the room and still be a part of the situation and part of the church without engaging in deep dialogue or even small talk, because there is a place for everybody when we have these things. So my encouragement, my motivation this week is find a place to plug in, not just because it is the best available, not as because it's the most shiniest product that we can put out there, but find a place that you can fall in love with God and fall in love with his people and genuinely see them as brothers and sisters and a part of the same body as you. So find a church that you can have a potluck in. And speaking of potlucks, not this coming Sunday is the Home and Garden Tour, or weekend is the Home and Garden Tour in Urbana on Saturday and Sunday, and both days our church is offering a potato bar, a lunch here. And so after church on Sunday, be a great opportunity to come get a baked potato and have lunch with your fellow brothers and sisters in the church. So we love to see you on Sunday, but better yet, just find a place to connect with God this week. So we'll see you then.